you guys can see, we do have a guest, and it is our friend here, Christian Markovich. Christian is actually someone that Hector and I grew up with. We went to the same elementary, middle school, and high school, if I'm not mistaken. I think we have pictures of us going that far back. So Chris was always a great student, a really cool friend. It was cool growing up and getting to know him. And Chris, he furthers his education. He ends up coming back to help the community himself, and becoming the youngest, at that point, I think, the youngest mayor to ever take that position in the city of Cudahy. He runs into some crazy snags that maybe we'll get into, but yeah, he had to go through the MAGA crowd as well in a city where it was predominantly Hispanic, Latino, whatever you want to say. And yeah, we had some crazy times. I was there to witness a lot of it, and it wasn't fun. It was kind of disgraceful. It was kind of disgusting, and it was kind of at a time where I thought I was maybe could get into politics. But after I saw that, when I saw that could happen in a town as small as ours that we grew up in, it just completely turned me off. And I actually had a podcast going on at that time where you were my first guest as well, and that was
the local look.
the local look, and that was audio only, right? So I was trying to do something with
Yeah.
that, and I just completely stopped just because it was just disgusting. People were making up lies about me, saying that I was running for a position here in Southgate, that I was
Yeah.
running with Gil Hurtado, who is a council member there. I had
Yeah.
never they made a fake flyer of me and him together, saying that we were running
What?
here.
I didn't
Yeah,
know that. That's
yeah, that was
crazy.
going around, and my name, like, as soon as I saw that they were willing to do that, I'm like, it's only a matter of time before they get my family involved. And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
like, nah, I'm good. Like, this is a headache that I don't want to deal with.
Oh my
So
god.
I could only imagine the shit that you went through as fucking mayor, man, and council member, because you were a council member for many years as well. But do my discussion lounge buddies here, my co-hosts, my buddy pals, do you guys have any questions for someone who was so young? And how old were you, Chris, when you took that position?
I was 27 when I became mayor. It was 2013 when I went into office, like closer to 25, maybe.
25. So we got a 25-year-old mayor. He just finished school. He comes out to try to help his community. He has, like, you had a job right before you went in there,
Yeah, I had
and
a job the entire
oh,
time.
the entire way through. Okay, yeah. So you're
Yeah.
working. You're a mayor. Yeah, Gio. I think you maybe said you had some questions.
Yeah, Chris, I met you during one of the city council meetings where the question of whether marijuana dispensaries should be in the city,
Hmm.
whether they should be or should not be, and that meeting was insane, right? Like
Yeah.
half of the room was like yelling off, like it was just chaos, right? I wanted to ask, like, was that one of the craziest meetings you've ever seen, and what happened with that issue afterwards? Like, how did the city behave, and how did the city council meetings go after
Yeah.
that?
No, things got way worse after that. That sort of was like a benchmark of how crazy it could get on a topic as innocuous as whether or not that we were going to open up dispensaries or that dispensary was opening up tomorrow. It was, should we entertain the discussion of possibly, maybe one of these days, opening up dispensaries in the city? Like, I think I was on the record of saying we're talking about cannabis. We're not talking about an abortion clinic opening up in Cudahy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we got to really take a step back on what we're analyzing here. So people were very upset about cannabis in general. Yeah, like, I think right now the city of Cudahy is still working on opening up or passing through manufacturing, manufacturing and processing of cannabis.
Yeah,
So
which essentially is like a grow lab.
yeah, exactly. So so I know that things got way. This was before the whole Trump thing, before the whole MAGA crowd came into town, and we were trying. I was trying to get the manufacturing to open up because I know, like I understood why people could be upset about dispensaries, and I'm like, well, maybe we shouldn't do dispensaries, but still bring in revenue in the form of manufacturing cannabis into town. But dude, we're in 2021. This should have happened like 4 or 5 years ago, man.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I think it's too late for cannabis in the city of Cudahy because people have been moving on, or the cannabis people have been opening up in other parts of the state. So
Yeah, and
yeah,
just the stigma that people had against it, right? Because as soon as, like, even if you take a position like yours where it's like, yeah, maybe we should talk about it, and maybe we could have, like, like grow labs or whatever where they're not selling it, but they could grow it, and then they can, then take it to wherever, to whatever shop that's selling it, and they can sell it there.
right,
Just having that position, oh, you're a drug dealer, or you love
yeah,
to use drugs, and you're a weed head, and we got a weed head as a mayor, and
yeah.
like,
And I'm like, and I was even up there like, you guys think I'm on drugs? Like, I will take a drug test today to
mhm,
prove you guys wrong. And they're like, come on, no sé
yeah.
qué. And I'm like, get out of my face with that shit, dude.
Yeah, the conservatism, like when it came to cannabis in the city of Cudahy, was weird, and it's just, I understand because, like, my mom was like that, right? And now, she's grown out of it because, I mean, I smoke pot, and I have for like a long time, since I've been out of high school probably, and I had to, like, kind of just convince her that, like, dude, like, this is, it's kind of chill. Like, everybody does it. Everyone has their little thing. Some people drink. Some people, smoke their cigarettes or whatever. Some people like to, like, smoke weed. And as we've seen over the years since we've been little, like, getting fucking this propaganda sane shit, and the fucking don't do drugs dog or whatever the fuck they had back then.
Yeah,
All that shit was just
yeah, I forgot
scaring
what it
you,
was.
just scaring you into fucking not smoking weed. And, like, now it's fucking legal, and now, people are profiting off of it like a motherfucker. We had a boom. It's still booming, and I think it's
Yeah,
never
dude,
gonna
and you
stop
still have
booming.
people that have it on their criminal record too, man.
Yeah, and we got
That
people
should
still
have
in
been,
jail for that shit.
yeah, dude. It should have been like a one, like a combo type bill. The
Yeah,
minute that recreational weed became legal in the in state of California, expunge all of these records, take people out of jail, and all this shit,
one
because
hundred
it's just
percent.
the hypocrisy behind it too was tough to swallow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that hurt communities, bro. You hurt families, like, over, a
Yeah,
fucking,
communities
like,
like ours, dude. Like, I'm
yeah,
still in Cudahy, and I
yeah.
still see people like recovering from some of these things that have happened over the past several years.
Yeah, and there was an issue because I would try to talk to some of the older folks in Cudahy too, because they're like, dude, like, some of them would be worried, and I understand, like, they don't want their kids to be exposed to weed at a young age, or to ever try weed at all, and I get that, right? There's some people pride themselves, like, into living life without having a crutch, right? They do something else, either they meditate or they pray or whatever, like that, whatever they got to do, but they don't, like,
Yeah,
use any substances, right? And I get it, dude, I
right.
get it. And they would say, Alan, look, and they'll talk to me in Spanish, but they're like, look, in the park, in the bathrooms, I coach soccer, and there's these kids, these fucking teenagers, and they're blowing up the restroom with weed smoke. And what's gonna happen if they open a dispensary? And, like, I understand, like, I super understand, and it's something
Yeah,
that I'm sure my parents were afraid of too. Is like, damn, like, what if Alan's exposed to weed at a young age? Which I was. I got exposed to weed. At school, I think my freshman year, and it was through my tennis team. Like, my fucking one of my tennis partner, he fucking smoked weed. So one day he was having a little shindig at his house, and I smoked weed through an apple, and that was the first time I ever smoked weed. And, I wasn't even doing anything, but I was hanging out with fools that played tennis, like the fucking geekiest shit you could do probably, and I still got exposed to fucking weed. So, like, it's fucking. It's like a fucking weird fucking topic, like, to be so sensitive about.
yeah,
Because anyone who's paying attention can see, like, if anyone who knows, like, about reefer madness, or, all the fucking fake propaganda against marijuana, or how they they didn't want anyone to use it because you can literally grow it in your fucking own backyard and fucking make profit out of it. And now they've been trying to tax it, and now they're taxing it everywhere. Yeah, I don't get it, man. I don't get why. you wouldn't first of all want to bring revenue to the city. It's just a job, right? You're just fucking growing a plant. You don't have to fucking smoke it. Like nobody's telling you, hey, fucking smoke this weed that they're manufacturing at this spot right here. Nobody's fucking saying that, right? And then on top of
Right.
that, even if you do decide to further that and get dispensaries open, that dispensary is gonna make sure that you're 21 or at least 18, and you show your ID before you go into that dispensary and get that weed. Like, that's way better than
Yeah.
fucking finding it on the street with some dudes that are fucking smoking weed in the park. Fucking,
Yeah,
you
dude.
know.
I mean, it's harder to get into a dispensary than it is to fucking walk into the U.S. Capitol at this
Oh
point.
shit! Oh
You know
yeah.
what the fuck I'm saying? I had to go through like
Yeah.
3 rounds of security to walk
Shots
into
fired.
a dispensary.
Yeah.
And these fools are just walking onto the Senate floor.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell's going on, dude?
Yeah. Gio, you got anything?
No, that was the only question I had written down. But yeah,
Okay.
it's a good topic.
Hector.
Did I answer? Did I answer
Oh,
your
sorry.
question?
Yeah. So then, how did the city respond afterwards? I guess they calmed down because you backed off of dispensaries.
No, well, the whole dispensary conversation was still happening. It's still happening to this day. Like they're still trying to figure out what to do with the whole dispensaries. I think they referenced it at last night's city council meeting because I still follow what's been going on because I want to
Yeah.
make sure my baby's okay. You know what I mean? So yeah, they're still talking about like the whole process of how to open up these dispensaries. If we would have not have had the public outcry so early on, we probably would have been able to do that within 2 years because we were trying to work with the businesses, and we were trying to make sure that they had everything that they needed to open up, but also in turn make sure that they were able to work with us on what we wanted and to give us the reassurance that no one's going to walk in and sell someone like an ounce or whatever. Like this is solely for manufacturing, solely for distribution. This is no dispensaries are going on in here. So we wanted to make sure that we were doing everything, within what we were comfortable with. So yeah, like things did calm down a bit, but from what I could gather, they're still working on it, man. They're still working on it.
Hector, did you have anything for Mr. Markovich?
Yes. Okay, so first, I would like to go on the record and say that I never copied off Chris in high school.
If anything, I was copying off of you, bro. That was a bit. My whole thing was like a smoke screen. Like I just looked smart. It was that trench coat.
The trench coat, bro.
Ooh, that trench coat, bro. It was ahead of its time for sure. You
It
know,
shouldn't have been no time, bro. I wore that trench coat one day too long.
nah,
I
man,
know that.
you were the true discoverer of the Matrix for sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
He was in the Matrix
Sure.
before Neo.
Yeah, you shopped there first for
Yeah.
sure.
He
Yeah,
was.
right.
He was. If Neo was the 1, you were the 0.
All right. Okay, so I've always wanted to present this to you. Is my theory of Cudahy, specifically the people that live in it, the residents, right? Because I did attend some of those meetings when you guys were going at it with not just the public, but also these people that were coming from out of town to just kind of like destroy whatever kind of progress you guys are trying to make for the city, right? So I went there to analyze and try to figure out exactly what the underlying issue is here, because like you guys were talking about it, right? Like I don't believe that it's just weed or cannabis itself. There's an underlying reason, and I analyzed it and I came up with a theory. And I've been wanting to present this to you actually for years. But I just never got the chance to do it. I should have done it sooner, but I'm actually glad I didn't, because now we have this conversation and I could do it on screen, and we could put this out there for anyone that's interested. So what I see, or what I saw at the time going on in Cudahy and in those council meetings, and the type of ideologies that the people were carrying, I found that synonymous to the type of relationship that I have with my mother. And let me explain further. So my mom is an immigrant, right? And so am I, right? But I was brought to this country when I was really young. So this country is all I know. As far as I know, I'm American. And so my mom, she's Mexican, right? And before, when she first came to this country, right, like all she knew was Mexico. And she, just like any other immigrant, right, you find like pockets or areas where it's more comfortable to you, parts where it feels like home, right? Because come on, you think about someone that never been in this country, right? Like where do they go, right? They have to find somewhere comfortable where they could, you know,
Mhm.
prosper and live, right? And you find areas where there's a lot of, you know, a high population of Hispanics, and you just kind of live your life and it's comfortable, and it's not a bad thing, right? But what ends up happening is that you end up kind of like treating this community like it's your little pueblo. And I've heard that term before get thrown around
Mhm.
in Cudahy so many times, right? And one thing that my sister would tell my mom all the time is that this is not your pueblo, right? Like she understands that. She would tell my mom that I understand that you want some comfort, but you know, we're living in America, right? And part of the idea of America is that it's just a mixing pot. It's just a pot mix of a lot of different cultures and a lot of different people, right? And a lot of different mindsets. So you have to be open, right? You have to be a little bit more understanding and open and not close yourself off like you have been
Mhm.
doing for pretty much your whole life, right? So what I see is that disconnect of the older generation and then the new generation,
Mhm.
right? There's that bridge that needs to be built. And so when there's a topic like cannabis or weed, automatically the older generation just says nope, not having it, not even considering it. And then you have the younger generation, and like Alan was saying, I'm sure Alan had a lot of conversation with his mom about this topic. I've had so many conversations with my mom about weed. I told her when I would come back from the meeting, she would be like, how did it go? And I'd be like, it was all right. You know, there have people that were against it. Most people were against it, some people were for it. And she's like, yeah, I'm super against it. And I would question her. I'll be like, why are you super against it? Right? She like, because
Mhm.
she said it's just wrong, right? So again, it leads me to believe
Yeah.
that this
Yeah.
idea that it's just wrong automatically, it just stems from whatever beliefs you had, you know, when you were growing up. And I get it, right? I think it's just like her motherly form of protecting us, or protecting anyone for that matter, saying that just stay away from things that are bad for you,
Mhm.
Yeah.
right? But in the sense where you're trying to raise money for a town that has no money, right? You have to consider, you know, these avenues, right? And I felt like the community wasn't having it. So I want to ask you, does this theory hold? Is there something there, or is there something more that we don't know?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head because I also spoke with some residents. Like there was one time I got an invitation by one resident to talk about this topic among other things, you know, like parking or graffiti or whatever. And then I show up, and they were all the residents were there, and I was like, oh shit, I got ambushed, you know. But I couldn't like just run home, you know. I had to stay there, and I had to talk to everyone and hear them out, you know. And I think that's one thing that I tried to do was hear people out and understand like their point of view. And there was this one person that told me that the reason why they were against it was because they had a family member that was a big old, you know, pothead, and that was like in the rare instance the actual gateway drug for this person. And they started with weed and then graduated to coke and then went down the rabbit hole of all the drugs. And that person was like, and this is why I'm against weed. This is why I'm against your cannabis um, ordinance or idea. And I'm like, well, you know, I get it. Like for this person is never going to change their mind because this affected them personally. And I think with what you just said, Hector, about people's ideas and where they come from and how that is basically like this with their identity, you know, it probably holds true. And that would make a lot of sense why we had so many people that were against, you know, cannabis.
Yeah, and
And
sorry to interrupt, but yeah, for the majority of the people there, they were the older
Mhm.
residents, definitely.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And we had folks that were just, like the folks that would come up to the microphone and be in support of cannabis, were like people that had like nerve damage and that were in constant pain, or people that were like cancer patients and say, CBD oil was the only thing that helped me keep my food down. And it wasn't even like they were trying to get a high off of it; they were just trying to like survive. So yeah, I think that we tried to do something, and we had so many folks that were just, the knee jerk reaction was fear, and they didn't want to see that change happen so quick in the city. But here we are, several years later, and nothing came of it.
I want to say too, that like a lot of the resent, and I'm not gonna vouch for every person that smokes weed, right? I've been able to be chill with it, right? But I've never been that person that like rolled a blunt and then just fucking walked down the street or was outside
Yeah,
while people are fucking like walking their kids to school or fucking walking them back
right,
home, like, and just
right,
smoking a fucking blunt in the front, not giving a fuck about other people, right? Like,
right.
I've never fucking been that guy, but Cudahy is fucking full of these motherfuckers, old and fucking young, like dudes
I
that are
don't
like
get it, dude.
25 or 35 and then
I don't
17 and
get it.
18. Like they're doing it and they're being super disrespectful with it, right? They're fucking being
Yeah.
really loud with their fucking weed smoking, and that shit's unacceptable. Be like, not you
Yes.
as
Yes.
a smoker too, you got to be like, hey man, not everyone's fucking down with what I'm doing, so maybe
Yeah.
not fucking blow up the spot with fucking my
Yeah.
weed
Don't hang out
smoking.
at the Market Frank.
Yeah, exactly.
Rolling up your blunt.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that that's a big thing that the older people are like, dude, fuck these fools. Like they don't give a fuck about us when that we have to smell this fucking
Yes.
this weed while we're outside.
Yes.
So and then a lot of it too is because where's the young kid gonna go? His mom's gonna let him smoke weed in his room. That's also not gonna happen. So I mean, it's just this like forever struggle, right, between especially when you're young, right? You're trying to do older people shit, and you can't do it because you're at home, and you got to sneak out or you got to do something, right?
Yeah.
You got to do something bad to get your fun going, I guess. So yeah, that's an issue that's also there, that I think it's a big problem. And me as a smoker, when I see that shit, it bothers me. Cause I'm like, dude, like no one ever taught you to be slick. Like I get it. Like you're an adult and nobody should tell you what
Yeah.
to do, but you should also
Yeah.
not be an idiot.
Hey guys, don't forget to like and subscribe if you like what you hear. And if you want to hear some of the issues that you care about discussed on Discussion Lounge, go ahead and drop them in the comments section.